Heads up, because you're in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit KJ Green. Welcome you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up this edition, more coaching carousel spins wilder and wilder, and this should be breaking by the time it gets published. Another coach hits the bricks. We'll detail that. Look back at the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Truly a wild weekend indeed. And look forward to the divisional round. Take a look at the 5 teams that could challenge Oklahoma City in for their dominance in the Hoodwood Hot 5. My fat dap, head slap, variety of things, anything I can think of off the top of my head. It's wild and crazy. Snuffy doesn't have a hat. I do. A new one. Not really a new one, but it's a different one. But in any case, Sports from the Hoodwood coming at you. Put on your crash helmets, buckle your seatbelts, and get ready. Let's go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings from the Hoodwood, where we got a lot of ground to cover. First show of 26. Apologize for last week being such a mess. The editing studio just did not want to work out. So we're going to try to make this the first show of 26 best it can be. I'm your man, KJ Green, welcoming you to the Hoodwood. We got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get to it. The weekend that was, wild card weekend, some people won't call it super wild card weekend. Any way you slice it, it was a bevy of great games. Starting out with the Rams-Panthers on Saturday, a slugfest in Charlotte, 2 teams battling it out. The young gun Bryce Young in his first playoff appearance versus the grizzled veteran and Matthew Stafford, and both teams trading haymakers like a heavyweight fight. It came down to the end. Matthew Stafford pulling out the win for the Rams, winning 30. This was a team that a lot of people still think have the chops to go all the way to Santa Clara for the Super Bowl. And they proved it. Matthew Stafford, cool under fire, cool on the other side of the pillow, pulling out the win. And people thought, well, the Panthers, they really didn't deserve to be in the playoffs at 8-9, and they were going to get blown out by the Rams. I thought the Rams were going to blow them out, but they stuck to them. Tough game. It was a really very loud venue at Bank of America Stadium, but the Rams were able to pull off the close victory to start off the playoff round. And you're thinking, okay, that's a great appetizer. Let's get that Green Bay Chicago game. And the Packers jumped out to a big lead, 21-3 at half. They missed the field goal, and I thought, is that a bad portent? When they missed the field goal to start the second half, but the Bears just clawed their way. It kept hanging around. And I'm thinking the Packers blew a number of chances to really bury the Bears in Chicago. They had chances to really push that lead out, but couldn't. And when the Bears have had that predilection, if you leave them in games, let them hang around, that they will stay around and make things that much more difficult. And they were able to pull out the game. Caleb Williams, for someone playing in his very first playoff game, showed a lot of moxie, showed a lot of heart. He showed that kind of gumption that many people said, okay, he is a franchise quarterback. He is that guy. Yeah, he's eccentric and a little bit moody and everything, but he makes the throws. He makes the plays. He is the engine that is making the Bears go. And the Packers left the Bears in the game for a little too long. And you leave the Bears in the game too long, they're going to get you. And that's exactly what they did. And the Packers, once again, failing to put a team away. Of their last 5 losses, 4 in the regular season and the playoff game, 4 of those 5 games, they had the lead and blew the game late. The only game that they did was the season finale against the Vikings, which was a meaningless game. But again, they're calling into question Matt LaFleur's leadership, that this team had a real chance to win the division, but instead finished 9-7-1 and then blew a sizable lead against the Bears and are now out. The Sunday games were just as thrilling. Starting off with the Bills in Jacksonville, the Duval crowd was its raucous best. And these two teams, as you expected, slugging it out in the Florida sun. Beautiful sunny day in Jacksonville, and the game lived up to the hype. Both teams not backing down. Josh Allen with a great game. Trevor Lawrence, he played decent, but it just seemed like there was just a little bit of something missing. But the Jags still had the lead 24-20 late in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen, he is a type of guy, put him against the wall, he comes out swinging. Driving the Bills down late, scoring with just under a minute to play to give the Bills the lead. And of course, just a bad ending with the Jags. Lawrence throwing an interception on the first play from scrimmage when they got the ball back off of a tip ball. Just a really sad ending for Liam Cohen's crew down there in Jacksonville. That is a team, them and the Chargers, which we'll talk about here in a minute, just seem to be so star-crossed that they have the tools and the talent to get deep in the playoffs, but it's always something, just that little bit of something, bad luck, bad call, just something that gets them. Now, speaking of the Chargers, they were playing in New England for the Sunday night game, and the game was a defensive slugfest. Both teams really not able to make moves against the respective defenses. And it was a 6-3 game late into the third quarter. But then the Patriots scored and scored again, and it just seemed like Justin Herbert could not make any moves against a fired up Patriots defense, an underrated Patriots defense that managed to sack him 6 times. And I guarantee you that Justin Herbert's going to have nightmares about that Patriots defense going forward, at least until next year's training camp. They were all over him. And it just seemed that, once again, the Chargers get into the playoffs and go ice cold, blowing a 31-0 lead against the Jaguars 2 years ago. Just absolutely tanking it up against the Texans in the wild card round last year. And this year, their offense MIA. 3 years straight. The first time that when they blew that lead, that cost Brandon Staley his job. They brought in Jim Harbaugh. He's got that winner's mentality. He can win a title in LA. But again, a playoff failure. And now a third straight road playoff failure. Maybe the Chargers need to have a home game to be able to get over their playoff jinx. But in any way, they just have not been able to get it done. And another wild card round failure. The Monday game between the Texans and the Steelers was a sad sight. The Steelers offense you thought the Patriots offense, I beg your pardon, you thought the Chargers offense was bad. The Steelers offense was pathetic. Aaron Rodgers looked old. He looked slow. He looked like he didn't want to be there. Yeah, getting DK Metcalf was a good sign that he was able to target him again, but they weren't able to move the ball. The Texans defense, people sleep on the Texans defense. The Texans defense is for real, and they lived in the Steelers backfield. They hit Aaron Rodgers constantly. So they were climbing all over him like a jungle gym. They sacked him repeatedly. And then a fourth quarter game, it's still a tight game at 7-6, but you're thinking sooner or later the Texans are going to cash in on a mistake, because the Steelers offense wasn't doing anything. But every time the Texans got deep into Steelers territory, they mess up. Leave it to the defense to finally cash in. And after it was a 10-6 game, scoring 2 straight defensive touchdowns to basically break the game open. I think right, 2 of the last 3 touchdowns were defensive touchdowns. A strip sack fumble and a pick 6. And it just looked like Aaron Rodgers wanted out. And to no one's surprise, I wouldn't say breaking news, because by the time this comes out, it's going to be well known, Mike Tomlin stepping down as the Steelers head coach after 19 seasons, 1 win shy of passing the legendary Chuck Noll as the Steelers' all-time wins leader. But No losing seasons in 19 years. The Steelers were pretty much a playoff contender every year. But the problem is they lost their last 7 playoff games. 7 straight playoff losses. And in Pittsburgh, a fan base that is used to winning, playing deep into January, that wasn't going to do. The howls were a little too loud, and Mike Tomlin stepped down. Mike Tomlin is 6 months older than me at 53. He's not going to be unemployed for long. You can book that. He'll be somewhere pretty soon coaching another team. And amazing as it sounds, Zach Taylor is now the dean of the AFC North coaching. He's been with the Bengals since 2018. He is now the most tenured coach in the AFC North. Who'd have thunk it? Makes absolutely no sense. We will look at the divisional round, the matchups coming up. It's 2-5 in both conferences and 6-1 in both conferences. The seedings with the Broncos and Seahawks now getting into the playoffs after having the week off. We will look at those games here in another segment, and we will look at the head coaching changes, the carousel of coaches in the NFL, which you need to get me off of this carousel because I'm getting dizzy because this is getting a little crazy. Snuffy's dizzy. In some way, so am I. Stop it. The NFL coaching carousel, you're going to have coaches being fired and, coaches stepping down, so on every year. It happens. It's a yearly thing. Teams don't play good, and the teams decide they're going to make a change. Coaches have to go. There are nine teams that are looking for head coaches as we speak. Some of them, no real big surprise. Arizona firing their coach, Jonathan Gannon, the day after the season ended. The team went 3-14. And he was 15-36. That was no real big surprise. The Vegas Raiders really shouldn't have hired Pete Carroll. He was in over his head one season. They went 3-14. That was no surprise. Him getting fired. Kevin Stefanski, a little bit of a surprise, 2-time coach of the year with the Browns, but they went 5-12. Second straight last place finish. Really no big surprise that he got the gate. I was kind of surprised, but it was a lot of people in Cleveland that wanted him gone. Atlanta firing Raheem Morris. Once they fired the general manager, you knew Raheem Morris was going to be pretty much done with. Morris in only his second season in Atlanta, they really didn't get on track. And of course, the Giants and the Titans having fired their coaches during the season, Brian Dable and Brian Callahan, respectively, the Giants and Titans being fired during the regular season. But the ones that I really was surprised about, John Harbaugh being let go in Baltimore after 18 seasons. And then, as I mentioned in the previous segment, Mike Tomlin of the Steelers stepping down on Tuesday, January 13th. Both of those coaches combined 37 years at their respective posts. Mike Tomlin being coach of the Steelers for 19 seasons, John Harbaugh being coach of the Ravens for 18 seasons. So to me, this is just nutty, crazy. Now, Tomlin and Harbaugh, I'm very sure will find head coaching jobs somewhere else, and that quite soon. Both of them have won Super Bowls, have won extensively in their respective positions. Tomlin never had a losing season in his 19 years as the head man in Pittsburgh. Harbaugh winning numerous division titles and taking sometimes overachieving Ravens teams deep into the playoffs. And it was one of those things that you're looking at going, those are, pillars of coaching. And they're both getting thrown out. I mean, Harbaugh had just signed a 3-year extension and was under contract through the 2028 season. Third most wins in the NFL since 2018. It's crazy. both Baltimore and Pittsburgh don't change over coaches that often. The Steelers have had 3 coaches in the last 57 years. Chuck Noll took the job in 1969 after there was a lot of turnover in Pittsburgh for a number of years and brought stability to that franchise. He coached that team through 1991. Chuck Noll won 4 Super Bowls in the Steel City, repeating 74-75, then again in 78-79. He was, without a doubt, an icon of Pittsburgh football. Cowher, Iron Jaw, the brash coach that took over the Steelers, had big shoes to fill. But he also won a Super Bowl. He won pretty consistently, but struggled to get all the way to the Super Bowl, if not winning. He got to it in his 3rd season, but got blasted by the Cowboys. And people were wondering, can he win the big one? And he finally did, leading the Steelers to a Super Bowl win in Super Bowl 40, then retiring the next year. Then steps in Mike Tomlin. Now, he's got even bigger shoes to fill. Knowles won Super Bowls, multiple Super Bowls. Cowher won a Super Bowl and won consistently. Could this young coach, who was only 34 when he was hired, could he lead the Steelers and keep them great? He did pretty good in his own right. 193 wins, winning a Super Bowl. And a lot of people thought, but he was under a lot of fire over the last few years, losing 7 straight playoff games and having not gotten to the Super Bowl since winning it when they beat the Cardinals in 2008. That was 16 years ago. Yeah, really, Pittsburgh is a tough town. They expect to win. And with the Steelers not getting deep in the playoffs, that might have cost Tomlin his job. But like I said, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh will probably get head coaching jobs that quite soon. I'm thinking that Harbaugh will end up in New York, coaching the Giants. I think Mike Tomlin will end up in Miami, coaching the Dolphins. Speculation, but you never know. The Dolphins, speaking of, fired Mike McDaniel last Thursday. Kind of a surprise. He thought he might have gotten past Black Monday, where the coaching axes fall, and was rumored to be sitting in for the hiring of the general manager. But then ownership decided he had to go too. McDaniel could end up in Cleveland as the head coach there, or offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. A lot of people think he might be a good fit there, especially if Brian Pilcher, the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, makes a lateral move or takes a head coaching job himself. A lot of speculation on who is going to land where and what up-and-coming coaches will jump up into the head coaching chair. But round and round we go. This whole coaching carousel is making me dizzy. So dizzy, I think we're going to take a time out. Get some Dramamine, something to cure my dizziness. We'll look at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, as well as the college football national championship between Indiana and Miami. Sports From The Hoodwood comes back at you after this.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and I promise that we will talk about other sports other than football, talk some basketball, college basketball, and maybe even throw in some hockey. But in a little bit, but more football. Many people going, oh, Jesus, football. But it's January, people. What do you think we're going to talk about? Hockey, basketball, maybe. But we'll talk about some of that in a little bit. And then there were two. And not the two that you thought was going to be there. The Hoosiers, the Hurricanes, squaring off in Miami Gardens for the national championship. It just happened to be luck of the draw that the Canes end up coming home for the national championship, even though they have played 3 games on the road, basically playing in College Station, beating Texas A&M, beating the defending national champions in the Cotton Bowl, in the quarterfinals, and in the semis, winning a thrilling game against Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl to win their way back to Miami for the national championship. Now, the Indiana Hoosiers, many people thought, they're a fraud. They're not going to get it. You wait till they play Alabama. I had a colleague tell me, yeah, you wait till that SEC blood comes out. They're going to find out what a real team is.
Stop the cap.
What did Indiana do? They shrugged. They bust out the whooping stick, and they absolutely obliterated Alabama in the Rose Bowl. 38-3, and it could have been a whole lot worse. I've never seen so many Bama fans with shell shock after that game, after that whooping that Indiana put on. Indiana then moves to the semifinal in the Peach Bowl against Oregon, a team that they struggled with. They did beat them, but they struggled with them. In Autzen earlier in the season, everybody thought, Oregon could win this rematch. First play from scrimmage, pick 6. And you just saw Oregon just deflate. They tied the game up in the first quarter, but Indiana kind of went, okay, and their offense got on the field, and they just wore Oregon out. It was frightening to watch Indiana march up and down the field, up and down the field. And Oregon, you were waiting for somebody to cut to Adrian Balboa in the Rock. You were going, hit him back. Because Oregon had no answer. Fernando Mendoza is showing why he won the Heisman Trophy, directing a Hoosiers offense that just was outstanding. They destroyed Oregon 56-22 to win their way to Miami. Now, speaking of the Canes winning their way to Miami, they beat Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl. Like I said, an absolutely thrilling game. Carson Beck leading the Canes. They were down 4, down 3, I beg your pardon, and coming back in the fourth quarter to win that game with a 15-play drive that was just epic. And you're watching this going, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Cool as the other side of the pillow. So you have 2 really worthy teams on the field. Even though the Hoosiers are 8.5-point favorites, Miami is playing on its home field. And they have that anger. They have that swagger that leads me to believe this could be a close game. Closer than many people think it's going to be. Both these teams are worthy of being here. There's no Cinderella or anything like that. Even though Miami, a lot of people thought Miami shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They should have, but they have with 3 straight road wins. Not true road games. I mean, the game against Ohio State and the game against Ole Miss were in neutral venues. But you're playing the defending national champs, and you just absolutely shut them down. You play a good Ole Miss team, and take their best punch and come back to win. Miami is very much worthy of being here. Indiana, they've been proving the doubters wrong all season. Kurt Cignetti just seems like he's just in a bad mood. He is the college version of Bill Belichick. Huh? He's just grumbling all. Just seems like the man is never in a good mood. Oregon throws a pick six. Guy runs back in the end zone. Indiana sidelines going crazy. Cignetti. Okay. Indiana's blowing Oregon out. Blowing their backs out. They cut to Cignetti. Coach Cignetti, are you happy about this win? I guess. The man never smiles. Is the man ever happy? The man should be happy because he has a team in Indiana, one win away from winning a national title that many in college football thought never would happen. Indiana maybe win a national title in basketball, even though they haven't won a national title in basketball in almost 40. But you would be more likely to see a national title come for Indiana in basketball than football, which Indiana football has been historically bad. I mean, historically bad. But they're one win away from winning the national championship. Now, I grew up watching the U dominate college football in the 80s and 90s. Win a national title in 2001, absolutely running Nebraska out of the Rose Bowl. And then coming a questionable pass interference call away from beating Ohio State and repeating his national championships the next year. But the U fell on hard times. Really kind of fell out of favor. I mean, you had different coaches that just did not look like that they were ready to do anything. But now it seems that the U is back and they are one win away from restoring themselves back to the halcyon days of when they were dominating at the old Orange Bowl. This game will be a thriller. And you can flip a coin. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the U. I think that offense is going to be a little too much for Indiana. Though probably Indiana's going to make me look like a fool and dominate the game. And I wouldn't be surprised. But the Hoodwood pick is going to be the U. I think they will win their 6th national championship and their first in over 2 decades. And now let's look at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Now we have all the pretenders and false teams out of the way. Both 7 seed teams have been pushed aside, and actually 4 divisional winners, 3s and 4s, are all out of the playoff mix as well. So now you have the best 8 teams left in the NFL, thus the divisional round, which I think is the best round of the playoffs. I went 5-1 last week, which I wish I had picked the Jags over the Bills. I wish I hadn't, I should say. And I was going back and forth. The editing suite wasn't working right, so I'm like, I got to post them up on the Facebook page. And I was like, I typed in Bills, and then something told me, no, go back. Of course, what did the Lady Bandit say? What do you remember about tests? Always go with your first instinct. Always go with your first thing. I'm like, oh, geez. So, with an endeavor to improve on my lot, make the best of the 4 games that are left, I bring you the divisional round picks with the odds being provided by ESPN Bet for comparison and entertainment purposes only. I don't pay bookies. If you bet the lines and lose, that's on you. Don't call me. We will start out with the Saturday games on Saturday, January 17th. The first game is the 13-5 Buffalo Bills, who are the number 6 seed and the number 2 AFC wildcard, taking on the 14-3 Broncos, who are the number 1 AFC seed as the AFC West champ. Game being played at Empower Field at Mile High in Denver. 4:30 kickoff on CBS. The Bills are 1.5-point favorites. Last week, the Bills defeated the number 3 seed AFC South champ Jaguars 27-24, while the Broncos had a first-round bye as the AFC's number 1 seed. This is the team's 3rd playoff meeting. Bills have won both previous meetings, 10-7 in the 91 AFC Championship and 31 in last year's wild card round. Both those games were played in Buffalo. This is the first meeting in Denver for both teams. The Bills rallied to beat the Jags, and their offense is decent. Their defense can be had. The Broncos have a top-notch offense and I think a defense that is on point. Now, people are saying this is Josh Allen's year. He finally doesn't have anybody in his way. He doesn't have Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow in his way. This is his chance to really take the bull by the horns and take the Bills to their first Super Bowl in over 30 years. I can't see it. Sooner or later, Josh Allen will make a fatal mistake. And playing in Denver, hostile environment, where the Broncos just seemingly are, I wouldn't say untouchable, but gee willikers, it's the Broncos play really, really tough at home and in the playoffs. Winning in Denver in the playoffs, bit of a tall ask. And I'm taking nothing away from the Bills, but and Bo Nix cut his playoff teeth last year in Buffalo, where they just seem to climb all over him. And I think they learned a lesson. They learned a strong lesson, and I think that the Broncos will be able to learn, feed off of what they learned from last year's playoff experience, and having the game at home where they're 8-1, I think will make a big difference. I think the magical Bills run in Saturday night. The pick here is Denver. Next on the playoff docket, we have the 13-5 Niners, who are the number 6 seed and the number 2 as a number 2 NFC wild card, taking on the 14-3 Seahawks. The number 1 seed is the NFC West champs. That game being played at Lumen Field in Seattle. 8 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites. Last week, the 49ers defeated the number 3 seed, NFC East champ Eagles 23-19, while the Seahawks had the first round bye as the NFC's top seed. This is the team's third meeting in the playoffs. The Seahawks won 23-17 in the 2013 NFC Championship. That game being made famous by the Richard Sherman over Michael Crabtree interception in the end zone. And the 49ers won 41-23 in the 2022 NFC Wild Card round. Both teams winning on their respective home fields. Now, San Francisco, the 49ers are a mass unit. It seems like every week somebody's falling apart. Somebody's getting hurt. George Kittle tearing his Achilles in Philly. And somehow, some way, the 49ers still manage to grind out a win. They get from the most unlikely sources, but you can always depend on Christian McCaffrey. As long as he stays healthy, the 49ers offense is top-notch. Now, yes, the Seahawks won 14 games. Yes, their defense is top-notch. But, and you know where I'm going to go on this, their quarterback is Sam Darnold. And I don't have no personal beef against Sam Darnold. A buddy of mine asked me, why do you hate Kirk Cousins so much? Why don't you transfer that hatred to Sam Darnold? I just don't like Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold, I think he's a good kid. I think he's a solid quarterback. But when the chips are on the line, the big games, he freezes up. The Seahawks did beat the 49ers to win the NFC West, true. But it wasn't nothing that Sam Darnold did. They'd relied on their defense and a strong running game. I can't depend on Sam Darnold to win a playoff game. I just can't see it. Even though the 49ers are a walking mass unit, I think that they go to Seattle and win. Pick here is San Francisco. Turning to the Sunday games, we have first on the docket the 13-5 Texans, who are the number 5 seed, the number 1 AFC wildcard, taking on the 15-3 Patriots, who are the number 2 seed as AFC East champs. Game being played at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Mass. 3 o'clock kickoff on ESPN and ABC. Patriots are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Texans defeated the number 4 seed, AFC North champ Steelers 30-6, while the Patriots defeated the number 7 seed, the AFC number 3 wildcard Chargers 16-3. This is the team's third playoff meeting. The Pats 41-28 in the 2012 divisional round and 34-16 in the 2016 divisional round, both games being played at Foxborough. The Texans have never won in the divisional round. The Texans absolutely decimated the Steelers. They ran on them. They threw on them. Their defense was absolutely dominant. When you can make Aaron Rodgers look this bad, you're doing something. They pretty much forced that man into retirement. Now, they go on the road to take on the Patriots. Now you think, tough road venue. It's gonna be, the Patriots have won games before, but the Patriots had Tom Brady. That was also 10 years ago. These are different teams. Drake May, good kid. He will win playoff games for the Patriots, but not this year. I think the Texans defense is the difference, where the Patriots offense took a while to get started and really didn't do that much against a decent Chargers defense. What makes you think that they're going to do better against what I think is a better defense in the Texans? I don't see it happening. I see Houston winning this game and moving on to their first AFC title game in franchise history. Pick here is Houston. Finally, on the divisional picks, we have the 13-5 Rams, who are the number 5 seed and the number 1 wild card, taking on the 12-6 Bears, who are the number 2 seed as the NFC North champs. Game being played at Soldier Field in Chicago, 6:30 kickoff on NBC and Peacock. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites. Last week, the Rams defeated number 4 seed NFC South champ Carolina 34-31, while the Bears defeated number 7 seed, number 3 wild card Packers 31-27. This is the team's third playoff meeting. The Rams won the 1950 Western Division Championship 24-14, while the Bears won the 1985 NFC Championship 24-0. Good game to cap off the divisional round games. The Rams won an absolute thriller against the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. Now head to the Midway to take on the Bears, who just seem to love to fall behind and then fight their way back to win games. The problem is they've been doing this against so-so teams. The Packers were a fraud. I'm sorry. Throw all the hate mail that you want at me, but the Packers were a fraud. The Rams are a different team. Matthew Stafford is an old pro. Between Matthew Stafford's passing, throwing to Puka Nacua, throwing to Devontae Adams, solid running game, the Rams have an offense, a real offense. The Bears can't afford to get into a shootout with this team. They get in a shootout with the Rams, they're going to lose. And I don't think that the Bears have enough moxie on defense because they fall asleep as a switch way too many times on defense and allow themselves to get in the holes way too often. Get in a hole with the Rams, you're not going to come back. And I don't think the Rams will let the Bears come back. Bears had a good season, but I think it ends on their home turf. The pick here is Los Angeles. There you have it. Went 5-1 last week. Don't do locks and upsets in the playoffs. So we will take a timeout, come back with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Fat Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
You're tuned into Sports from the Hoodwood. the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand. Your host, KJ Green.
Rounding third and headed for home here in the Hoodwood, we'll finish up strong with the Hoodwood Hot 5, that dap head slap, and the final word from the wood. The topic of this edition's Hoodwood Hot 5 are the 5 teams that, in my opinion, have the best chance of knocking off the Oklahoma City Thunder from their lofty perch as NBA champions. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 34-7. They are clearly the class of the NBA and are looking really strong to defend their NBA crown. And, a team hasn't repeated as NBA champs in almost a decade. Go figure on that one. But I'm looking at the stats, I'm looking at the numbers, doing some number crunching, and I've come up with 5 teams that I think have the best chance if they can get to the finals, which I think Oklahoma City can get to the finals. For the 3 Western teams, I think they get to the Western Conference Finals and knock them off. But the 2 teams in the East that I think have the best chance to knock the Thunder off their lofty perch. It definitely isn't going to be the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are nowhere near going to be able to repeat as Eastern Conference champs, as they are 9-31 on the day of this taping and are light years from any kind of playoff spot. But there are 5 teams that I have, and we'll start out east with the Detroit Pistons, who are 28-10 and are looking just the exact opposite of a team that once lost 26 games in a row. You remember that? When they lost in late 23 and early 24. They were the laughingstock of the NBA. But this team's turned around. JB Bickerstaff has made this team a force, a real dynamic team. Cade Cunningham is a beast. He's averaging 26.9 points a game. And behind his sharp shooting, the Pistons have the best record in the East. Now, can that translate into playoff wins? They lost in the first round last year to the Knicks, but I think they learned from that playoff experience and can be set for a deep run in the playoffs. The number 2 team I have, there's no particular order, but the second team I have that can knock off the Thunder knock them from their perch as NBA champs are the New York Knicks. Yes, the New York Knicks. I know. The Knicks haven't won an NBA title in over 50 years. And yeah, I know that they won the NBA Cup, and there may be a little bit of a stigma of winning the NBA Cup. It doesn't translate to necessarily a deep playoff run. But this team is for real. I looked at the statistics, and the one thing that blew me away is that they have 6 players averaging double figures and one more that is close to averaging 10 himself. And I was looking at the stats, and I'm going, there's no way that this team has this kind of scoring balance. And they do. And I'm looking at it going, seriously? I mean, yeah, the usual suspects, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. But then you're going down further, and they're getting, Jordan Clarkson is averaging 9.9, and he's 7th on the team in scoring. You've got 6 players that are averaging double figures. That's incredible scoring balance. And a team like that, you can't just focus on one player. Say, shut that player down, you shut the team down. It isn't that way with the Knicks. You got to pick your poison. Jalen Brunson is a beast on the scoring touch. And Karl Anthony Towns has been freed of having to be the quote-unquote leader of a team, and he looks like he's better at playing at that secondary tertiary role of scoring. The onus of scoring isn't on him. And the Knicks, as a whole, have gelled. Can this be translate into a deep run in the playoffs? Nobody knows. But I think this is a team that could, if they may get on a run, could knock Oklahoma City off of that top spot. Turning to the Western Conference, third team I have that can knock off the Oklahoma City Thunder is the San Antonio Spurs. Now, this is probably one of the best rivalries that you don't know about. Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren, safe to say, do not like one another. They're not going to be sending each other birthday cards or Christmas greetings anytime soon. Those 2 players can't stand one another. And their rivalry on the court makes for must-see TV. So watching the game on Tuesday night, my auntie was texting me back and forth, and we were just talking about how these two teams bring an intensity to their games that you normally find in April and May in playoff games. These two teams, when they get on the court, they don't like one another. And Victor Wembanyama has this kind of outright contempt for the Thunder, especially Chet Holmgren, who it just seems that these two teams just don't like one another, and they go head up at one another. And if these two teams clash in April or May in the playoffs, it's going to be a 7-game war, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The next team I have, a fourth team that I think could knock off Oklahoma City, are the Denver Nuggets. It's that guy, the Joker. He always just seems to quietly plod along, and then you look up and he's got 35 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. Just another day at the office for the Joker. His just plain, demeanor drives the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, you forget that the Nuggets won the title just a couple of years ago. This is a team that is used to winning, and they know how to win. And you look at their stats, and it's like I said, you come to expect the Joker to be that guy. But then you have other players on this team like Jamal Murray, like Aaron Gordon, Tim Hardaway Jr. averaging 13-9 a game. This is an incredibly deep and talented team. And you pick your poison. The Joker's going to get his. But then Jamal Murray, he's dropping in 25 a game. This is a team that'll come at you from all directions. And in a 7-game series, the team has the depth to be able to give Oklahoma City a lot of trouble. Finally, the fifth team I think that has a real chance at knocking off Oklahoma City are the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, I know. You think I'm biased because I'm a Timberwolves fan. But the reality is this. Anthony Edwards is an MVP candidate, period. Anthony Edwards is playing like a man possessed. And when he's healthy, this team is deep. But then a really funny thing happened on the way to people taking the Timberwolves seriously. There are other players that have really stepped up. Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid have all really stepped their game up. And with Anthony Edwards averaging nearly 29 points a game, if he stays healthy, this team could gel. You forget, the Timberwolves went to the West Finals each of the last 2 years, losing to Dallas in 24 and losing to Oklahoma City in 25. This is a team that is learning how to win and could realistically put together the kind of 2-month run that could get them to the NBA Finals for the first time. Could it happen? Anybody's guess. But those are 5 teams that I think that could push the Oklahoma City Thunder and maybe knock off their crown. That's my hot 5. What's yours? Now let's look at our Fat Dap and Head Slap of the week. Our Fat Dap goes to Dallas Stars legend Mike Modano, who surprised a super fan recently by stopping in to see her. This isn't any ordinary fan. This is a 108-year-old super fan. Take a look.
Mom? Wow. Someone special is here to see you, one of your favorite players.
Is your mother?
Dorothy.
Mike Modano, remember?
Oh, this is so special. In Oakdale, former North Star and current executive for the Minnesota Wild, Mike Modano, surprises a super fan. Her name is Dorothy Heckman. She's 108 years old and joined her for a special visit today.
Well, I am so thrilled and happy to meet Dorothy. I mean, she's an amazing woman. I am just so lucky.
This made my year, and the next year, and the next year.
When he played, what did you like about Mike when he played?
That was classy. And that's all you can just say about it. Just classy move. Our head slap of the week, as much as it pains me to say it, is Cincinnati Bearcats basketball coach Wes Miller, who just seems like The walls are closing in faster and faster as his team continues to spiral out of control. This was a team that had top 25 aspirations, NCAA aspirations, before the start of the season. Very promising recruiting class, transfer portal utilized very nicely, but the team is 8-8. 8-8. And I've been watching Bearcat basketball 36 years, and this is probably one of the most frustrating teams I've ever watched. And I've seen a lot of Bearcat basketball in my time. And then after the Bearcats lost to West Virginia on January 6th in Morgantown, they lost 62-60. Veteran ace reporter Dan Horde, who's been covering Bearcat football and basketball for a quarter century, and I would dare say lives and dies with the Bearcats just as much as anyone else, tried to, sympathize with Coach Wes Miller, and this was his response.
Coach Miller has joined us now courtside here in Morgantown. Coach, I feel for everybody in that locker room right now. You did a great job.
Don't feel for us. We get to come out and play basketball. I don't care about the noise, Dan. I don't care. I don't care what people think. I only care about my team, and I care about my program. And you know what? It's almost comical. We'll get a break. We just got to stay together and stay brilliant. It's us against the whole world. We know that. We're going to get a break. We're going to keep going. Period.
Seriously, does this seem like a coach that is worried about his job and that feels like everybody's out to get him now? Now, I've heard that there may be some paper bags at UC's next home game, which I hope that they don't do because it's a bad look. But Wes Miller needs to get his act together. And I think he may be too far gone. I think the vultures are already circling over his head and he might lose his job. And in the Big 12, you can't play the way they've been playing. And it's not like they've been playing bad, but all these close losses, lack of mental toughness, intestinal fortitude, that speaks to coaching. And that's just a serious problem. And now, without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the Wood. I will never be mistaken for a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, ever. I've never been a fan of their team, never been. Their fans to me strike me as arrogant and entitled. That being said, I was a Mike Tomlin fan. Maybe because we're both the same age. He's only about 6 months older than me. Maybe it was because he coached at the University of Cincinnati briefly as a defensive backs coach. Maybe it was because he was a defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings for a little while in the early part of the 2000s. Either way, Mike Tomlin was a hot young coach when he was hired by the Steelers in 2007 at the age of 34. He came in looking very enthusiastic, quiet-spoken with a confidence that belied his age. 2 years later, Tomlin led the Steelers to the Super Bowl where they defeated the Arizona Cardinals to win their franchise's 6th Super Bowl. Tomlin will leave the Steelers as their second all-time winningest coach in regular season and all-time winningest coach if you include the postseason. But it was the postseason failures that doomed Tomlin, losing 7 straight playoff games, had the brickbats quickly coming, had the criticism getting louder and louder. But rather being fired, which Steeler coaches aren't fired, they just simply fade away, Tomlin decided it was time for him to go. And I've always admired Tomlin for his quiet demeanor, his understated confidence, his belief in himself. And the players, to the man, all were very supportive of Mike Tomlin in his coaching acumen, his coaching attitude, and the way he carried himself on and off the field. There are a dearth of coaches of color in the NFL. Mike Tomlin was the dean of the NFL coaches, having coached the Steelers for 19 years. And until his resignation, was still the longest tenured NFL head coach. That goes to speak to something not only because of being a long tenured coach, but a coach of color that seemingly has to jump through more hoops, have to scramble that much harder to get a shot. And then once getting a shot, it seems like Perfection is the word. If they're not top of the line, they get run out, and I think quicker than others. Tomlin never had a losing season in his 19 seasons as Pittsburgh head coach. He did win that Super Bowl. He did win playoff games. But it seemed to the Pittsburgh fans that wasn't enough. And hearing the wolves at the door, Tomlin decided to quietly exit the scene. Will Tomlin be a head coach next year? He has said that he is not interested in coaching a team next year. But come 2027, his name will be at the top of the list of coaching vacancies. People will be speculating, if not college or the pros. He will be a hot commodity because Mike Tomlin will only be 54. Still, in coaching eyes, still a very young man. Mike Tomlin, with the way he carried himself, the way he treated players, both teammate and foe, was always widely respected and admired. I would never be a Pittsburgh fan, never was considered myself one, but I always will be a Mike Tomlin fan for the way he carried himself and the way he graciously exited the stage. No fuss, no muss, just a quiet, easy exit, stage left. Wish the best, Coach Tomlin, and any future endeavors. And that is the final word from the Wood. Now, with music coming up in the background, you know that means that your time here in the Hoodwood is just about done, and I thank you so much for your visit. Now, the show's email is kjgreen@sportsfromthehoodwood.com. Please send me emails regarding show topics, both past and future, questions, comments on the show, and both praise and criticism. I welcome your correspondence, and we'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. Now, the show's website is sportsfromthehoodwood.com. That's a back catalog of the show dating back 14 years in both audio and video forms. So do check that out if there are shows that you may have missed. You can join the debate and conversation on the Sports From The Hoodwood Facebook page. It also has a video podcast simulcast as well as other topics, funny stuff that I find on the web, plenty of great sports debate, and lots more. I do post often and respond to member posts frequently. The video versions are also on YouTube, so please hit that subscribe and smash that like button for more great content. Now, the link to this podcast is also on the show's Blue Sky feed at hoodwoodsports.bsky.social with a host of interesting stuff to find there. Your correspondence with the show is encouraged, and we do respond back, so like and follow there as well. Now, the audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcast, and a host of other fine podcast platforms and providers. If the Hoodwood is not on your favorite, ask for it. Drop me a line and I'll see what I can do to get it there. And we've expanded our podcast availability thanks to your correspondence. And as always, special thanks to Rage Pictures for providing production assistance to both the show and website. So that's it from the Hoodwood. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, until next time, fellow sports fans, I'm Early Bev's son, KJ Green. 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood
Is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation
of a 551 Audio and Films production.